Wow, are you in for a treat? We just have had one of the most exciting conversations in the Hangout, pre-Hangout. These group of people on this panel, I'm going to tell you something. They are rocking my world, and I'm telling you, it's just amazing. So I just want to welcome all of you today to SkyWire, where we're listening to energy, which is one of my favorite topics. And in the green room, we have Tracy, we have Kehlani, we have Katrina, we have Gail, we have Heidi, we have Andy, and we have Elaine, and we have Sheila, who is especially holding the space for us in the comments. And that's a big deal, because we're spreading the that we're holding on to and that we're sharing is spreading. It's big energy. And so Sheila has offered to stay in the comment area and help us in there. And Tracy, did I mention you? Because you're here too. So if I left anybody out, I hope I didn't. I hope I went through it pretty well. But anyway, we're going to get started because this is a big topic, and I don't want to be the only one talking. I want everybody in here to say what they have to say, because it's been extraordinary. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce ourselves, tell you what we do, tell you how we work with energy, and then we're going to get into some of the things that we each feel and know and are curious about with energy, and we're going to help support each other in that. So I'm going to start with Tracy Baker. Tracy, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. It has been an amazing, energetic Thursday morning already. And energy why we listen, energy while we are talking, is just so vast and so interesting, and the way we get to communicate is an amazing opportunity to explore. I agree. The green room was very energetic and fascinating. So before I say goodbye and let everybody else introduce, Tracy Baker, owner of the Healthy You community, and have an Arium business that I run out of my house. And then I want to say a quick good morning. Sheila's out there with virtual applause. Nazim has checked in and said we've got a great room going on. And Mike Fountain's out there saying hi too. So I'll let everybody get the conversation going and be ready for some great energy.
Perfect. Thank you. Katrina, what about you? Tell us what you do and how energy, how you work with energy.
Well, first and foremost, good morning to everybody. In terms of how I work with energy as a creativity consultant, is that I really help people with their purpose in terms of connecting with their inner creative fire. And, you know, we all come across blocks in life and trying to figure that out. So I help guide people with mindfulness topics and mindfulness tips on my blog. And I also really sit down with people one-on-one to get to the truth of what they really want to express. So that can help them in all aspects of their life, including their business if they need some help with writing or in some of those other marketing perspectives. In terms of how energy works for me, I mean, I am a Reiki master, and I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that, but, you know, in terms of how I'm working with people one-on-one, it's important that I get a sense and really listen to all of who they are so that I can get a sense of where they're stuck and help them through their blocks.
Thank you so much for saying that. We're going to come back to you because I know you have some more to say. Next is Kehlani.
Good morning, everyone.
What about you? What do you do, and how is energy?
Okay, you ready for me? Good morning, everyone. Kalyani Roldan from Puerto Rico.
Go ahead.
Okay. I love the topic of energy. I'm actually a empowerment life coach, and I empower moms and mompreneurs to actually learn how to tap into their creative feminine energy in order to claim their unique brilliance, ignite their soulful passions, and thrive their simply extraordinary life. So the basis of all of my work, and pretty much my life, because that's how I came to do the work I do, is based on energy. And I'm sure most people have heard what seems like a cliche, everything is energy, but it is true. everything starts with your energy, and it resonates from there out in your energy field. So this is the foundation of the work that I do with women.
Thank you. Next up is Gail. You're going to tell us now what you do and how energy is involved with your work.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Hi, everybody. I'm Gail Harris. It's great to be here, and I am a professional writer and author. The topics I like to write about most these days are parenting, self-love, and intuition, and how all those topics are related. And I have a memoir coming out. The launch date of the book is October 7th, and it's a memoir that I co-wrote with a deaf woman who is a former Miss Deaf America, and the story is all about her journey to self-acceptance and to find the daughter that she adopted who's also deaf. So I can't say that I work with energy in my career or in my life in a very specific way, but I know how affected I am by energy, like E=mc². You know, it really comes down to that in everything we do. I know how affected I am by energy, and I do know what Reiki is, Katrina, and whenever I get on that Reiki table, I'm just so sensitive to energy. It's I am very sensitive to energy. I think when a person is a sensitive person, that means that they're sensitive to energy. And looking forward to participating in this conversation. Thanks.
Thanks, Gail. Next is Elaine, and Elaine is joining us for the first time, and she's kind of like our guest of the day, queen for the day. So Elaine, what about you? What do you do? And talk to us a little bit about your energy. Unmute. And hear her.
I am so glad to be with you here today. The blessing that I bring is helping folks dump seriousness and restore play and laughter into daily living and self-care. When we think about it, we often notice our own energy constrictions and blocks and thinking. We find the world's seriousness, and we need to find ways to lighten up, but we often don't give ourselves permission often enough. So some of the programs that I actually do are called TLC, or they use and repeat that word. Most often I say, you know, get yourself some today's laughter care or timely laughter care. And it occurs to me wonderfully today that it starts with timely listening care. Your self-love begins with really paying attention to whether you're flowing or whether you're blocking it. And laughter can help. So we'll probably do a little of that before the hour is over.
Definitely. Laughter can certainly shift the energy. Thank you, Elaine. Andy, our token male on our panel. What about you?
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon from the UK. It's great to be here amongst all you lovely ladies. It's a privilege. And welcome to everybody in the audience. Mike Fountain, I see Nazim in there as well, and all of you watching as well. I run a business called Become Authentic on Video. It's all about helping people find their voice online with video and Hangouts as well. When it comes to energy, I help people communicate their message by helping them connect with their energy first, how they want to connect through the camera, because when we get ourselves into the right state, in the right energy, we can truly connect with people in the right way. So that's more about what I do. I look forward to talking about the subject of listening today and how it applies to energy as well. So thanks for inviting me here today, and I look forward to joining in the conversation.
Thank you, Andy. And I'm clicking the bottom, and you didn't show up, but hopefully you will next time, and I'm sorry. Now we have Heidi, and Heidi's going to share with us about her work and her connection to energy.
Yeah, I'm a transformational coach and also a voice coach, a voice therapist, and I work with people one by one, but also in groups. And when we are doing retreats here, I'm in Italy and have a retreat house and offer retreats for couples and also for single people, for relationship work. The most important thing is to create an energy field which creates safety for the people so that they can have trust to open themselves and to go really into deep work. And I'm really believing that we are, as you said before, Kariana, that we are in all is energy, everything is energy, and it is even more. We are connected in fields, and even now we are in so different countries, so far away, and we have this field of connection. This is also, let's say, non-local energy, which is connecting to us together. And as I said in my work, I do it with people often present, and this is an amazing way how to create this atmosphere, and that's really exciting me so far. Marilyn is gone.
Okay. So since Marilyn's gone, we'll just continue the conversation from the green room. And we were talking about the energy of listening. And Katrina brought up a good point, so I'm going to start with her, is how do you listen with more than just your ears? And Katrina, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm just so intrigued with being able to listen with more than just my ears. So do you want to say a little bit about that and get the conversation going for us?
Yeah, sure. I'm not really sure. I'm assuming that a lot of the folks that are already in the call or have joined the call are interested in energy or have had an experience where they sense something or sort of had an inner knowing of something, but when they were actually listening, they sort of sensed something different. And that can happen when you start to realize, like, hey, you know, I'm also listening with my intuitive self. I'm listening with my gut. I'm listening with my heart. I'm listening with my ears and all these other senses, and they kind of come together and give you different little inputs of insight, right? So I'm sure you've run across someone where initially you're like, huh, their energy's kind of funky, or they feel kind of weird, and they may be perfectly nice people, and the conversation may be fine, but you walk away feeling a little awkward or uncomfortable. And I think that's just a little bit of a clue that maybe you sense that there's something else going on under the surface, and trusting your gut in that, and knowing that it doesn't have to be judged, but it's important to listen to. You know, maybe you're sensing this person's having not the greatest of days. Maybe someone is really kind of struggling with something and they're uncomfortable or unsure of how to share it with you or talk about it. So I think when you're listening the most to yourself, while at the same time being able to balance what you're hearing, you can really create a more open-ended conversation that's a two-way street, because you're sort of listening with more than just what you're hearing. You're able to kind of dig a little deeper and really support that person in conversation. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense to me. How about everybody else? Elaine, you mentioned when you feel the energy not connecting, to have a laugh. I mean, you're in the middle of this conversation, you can feel the disconnect that Katrina described, or, you know, that they're having a bad day and they're not really receptive. So how do you just start laughing hysterically? I mean, no? Or do you just hold hands, take a deep breath, and have some ha-ha-ha's together like you teach?
Laughter care is about joining that place in you that says, am I willing to laugh or experience joy because I believe something is funny? Or instead, flip it around and say, could I find lightness or joy in anything? So in the practice of laughter, sometimes you have to start with this place of faking it till you make it. So when I'm introducing laughter care practices to anybody, I say, because they might feel closed down, disconnected, or in a energetic way that feels distanced from another person they're with, the simple place is to start with your breath. So you take a deep breath in and then let a long breath out. And then the next time you do it, on the exhale, you just warm up your giggle. So if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to invite everybody to just do this with me. And it might open up the capability for everybody who happens to be watching today to just, open up their energetics so they sense easier, they hear a little more clearly, or they get clear on a question or a comment they might even want to make. So back to the breathing. Let's all take a deep breath in, and then a long exhale out. And on this one, the exhale, we're gonna do a gentle giggle. Breathe in. Let me hear everybody. Until all the air comes out. Let's do it one more time. Deep breath in. Vocalize ha 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 ha. Fake it till you make it. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Maybe there's a little shift there. Most people can notice a difference if you're laughing for a couple minutes. You'll really notice the energy shift. So thank you, everybody, for just being willing to play a little bit.
Well, I don't know about everybody else on the panel, or if Marilyn participated in the laughter we just did, but with technical things going on in the background and popping in and popping out, I felt the energy shift. So that was fantastic. Now, relating that to the energy of a conversation, I know, Heidi, you mentioned some really good points in the green room of sitting down and centering yourself, and you gave me some tips on projecting my voice through my whole body. What are your suggestions on energy listening that you can share with us?
I think really you need to be concentrated on your body, either when you're listening or also when you're speaking. So to feel the energy, to feel the vibration of your own voice in your body, and in some way feel the vibration of the other people's voice in your body, because we are not only listening by ears. These are sound waves, and the sound waves are coming everywhere to us. And our body perceives it, and the bones perceive them and amplify them in a certain way. And you can feel that when you, for instance, go to a loudspeaker, and it's very strong music. You feel it in your body everywhere. But it's even lower sounds the body is perceiving. So try to do a full body listening. And this is just a different thing, It's not just the ears. You are completely present in this way.
I just want to interject something. I don't know if you've already said it, because I've been having lots of technical difficulties. We've had rain, all kinds of things. But there's an electromagnetic field of energy around us. Have you discussed that yet? Anybody? Have we? And so
no, go ahead and tap into that, Marilyn.
Okay. So there's at least 8 to 10 feet around us. We are like a radio station. And we send out waves and we receive waves. And so this field of energy can be felt from somebody else. I mean, when somebody walks into a room, how they walk in the room. You don't even have to be aware that you are even thinking, processing, understanding energy on any level, but you can feel people. If they walk in the room with their head down, or they walk in the room with their head up, or they walk in smiling, you can feel it. So we have this field of energy around us, and it's very, very powerful. So we can send out these waves.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we lost our boss again, our fearless leader. So what do you guys think of that? I know, Andy, you're passionate about the hypnotherapy, and that's all energy patterns and energy waves. How do you feel about we are radio stations emitting energy in an 8 to 10 field? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I remember I went to a holistic fair earlier this year, and I'd looked at it before, and I can't remember the name of how it works or what the tool is. But what it does is you can. I've got a pad here. You can take a picture of your hand, and what it does is it's you can see the energy around your hand, and that says a lot about yourself and your energy field, which is very interesting. I didn't do that myself on that day, but a friend of mine had done it, and you can get a reading from someone's energy um, at that specific time very quickly from understanding the energy field around them, which is very, very interesting. And you can you can also see holes in energy in certain parts of the field around you as well. Um, so like I don't know how to explain it because I don't know the process of how it works, but it was very interesting. Anyway,
I
that was
guess. So what do we all do? What is our suggestion when we are in a conversation and we feel the energy shift? Either I'm a little positive, so when we feel the energy shift for the positive, does that more encourage you to keep the conversation going and talk bigger picture? I know, I think with almost every one of you, Kalea, I haven't had a private hangout with you, but every other person on the panel, hey, let's meet. And the energy was so good, the conversation lasted an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, because the energy was so fantastic. So how do we get ourselves into a conversation where we can maybe not produce, but maybe tap into that connectivity if it's available? What do you think?
I've got some great insight on that exact thing, Tracy, that's actually been coming up as other people have been talking. My perspective on conversation, if you will, which is what you're talking about, but when the energy is raising or the energy is connecting or the energy is alive when you're in conversation, what's happening as the conversation is happening is that the people that are involved, whether it's all of us on this panel, whether it's two people going one-on-one together, the energy in your body is raising. So what it tends to do is get you more out of your head and more into just being in the space of communing. So it will continue on that journey of it seems like the conversation is getting better, it seems like the content is juicier, and it's because we got to get out of our heads. We live in a world where we spend so much time in our heads formulating everything. And one of the big reasons that when I do my work with women, one of the first things that I have them do before we even get started is, whether it's live in person or whether we're doing it virtual, is I have us together dance to a song that you just cannot not move to. When you hear it, I always ask them, bring to the table one of your favorite tunes of all time that when you hear it, you got to sing and you got to dance. And you can't listen to it and not move. And what happens is when you start body, you start letting go of being so caught in the head. I mean, we hear it all the time. Women always saying, I go to bed and I'm exhausted, but I can't sleep. It's because we're so constantly formulating life in our head, we forget about the juicy, fun, laughter or playful, like you could just necessarily, because the words that are coming out are so interesting, although they're getting really interesting, it's because you both have tapped in to the juiciness of the being of you and of life, rather than all those, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to have the great things to talk about? All of that, you just start feeling. I'll give you an example of really listening. Yesterday, I was working on a lesson that needed to go out, and I wanted it to go out yesterday. But it was, you know, I revisited it probably 2 or 3 times in the day as I did other things. And right about 7 o'clock, I said, well, I'm really done with my day. I've been done. I want to finish and send this out. And I read through it again, and I said, there's a lot of great stuff here, but I just don't feel that it's complete. So I'm going to listen to that feeling, and I'm just going to go to bed, and I know that I set the intention. When I wake up tomorrow, the first thing I'm going to touch is that lesson, and through the energetic vibration, because I already stated to the universe, I said, listen, I know this is not complete. There's something juicy missing. Send it to me, whether it's in the form of an idea, a connection of a person, somebody sends me an email and there's something in it that sparks that. And I woke up this morning and I went straight to that, and I already knew what it needed. I put it in and I moved on because I listened. I listened not with my ears and my head, but with my feeling of that energy connection.
That's fantastic. To set the intention not prior, to go through and say, I know something's missing, how's it going to work itself out, and I'll look at it in the morning. That's fantastic. Heidi, do you have a thing up there from Sheila? I don't have a comment running on my side. I've got the chat box. So
yes.
You unmute.
Sheila is saying, using music to loosen the body and mind. Great idea, Kalyani. And I can agree to that, really, wholeheartedly.
Do you do that in your practice, Heidi? Do you ask people to change their mood, to break the mood of a tensive situation with a little song and dance action? I know I listen to Farrell's Happiness song every morning. That's the first thing I do as I'm setting up my office.
I normally don't use songs, but I use improvisation, tuning, singing together, and creating a sound cloud of voices. And this is really, it's like a meditation. It's calming you down incredibly. So it's really good.
How about you, Katrina? Do you set the tone of a creative session with any tricks like that? I know Elaine laughs, Kalani musics, Heidi sings. What is your I mean, you post a lot about how do you get your creative juices going. So how do you listen to your body and set the creative tone?
There are times when I have music lists or playlists that I'll listen to specifically when I'm working on certain things. So if I'm working on blog posts, half the time it's like sassy music where it's kind of getting me going, but it's usually instrumental stuff. The other part of the time I'm listening to really actually very meditative stuff, because it kind of gets me in a meditative zone where there is some music out there where you are actually, as you listen to the music, it balances your chakras. So that's kind of cool, and that way I don't necessarily have to take an extra step and do that. It's kind of doing that while I work. But the one thing I do every day is that I will chant 3 times. That kind of gets me centered starting the day. And then I can kind of just be more in tune with my body and connect with what feels good to do next. Because, as you know, you have a plan, and then you have what you feel like doing. So you have to kind of balance those two out. And then the more in tune I am, like the ums kind of get me grounded and centered. And then I'm actually more productive because I'm tuning into what I feel is most important to do first. And I'm connected with that, and it flows more easily.
Now, do you have to, any of y'all who use this balancing energy tool, do you have to sit down and use the Om first? Or I know when I come in and I turn on Farrell's Happy, I don't even think about it. I don't say, this song is going to balance and get my creative juices flowing. Here is my intention of the world. I just put on the song and dance around, and it does it by itself.
Mm-hmm. It's a natural thing.
Exactly. Wow. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Tracy.
yeah.
Tracy, if I can, I want to add in there, because what's coming up for me is that I think my experience for me is that it really depends on what's going on for me at the time and what energy am I wanting to be in. Like many people meditate, and the concept is that you're quieting the mind, but yet the music is always very soft, and you listen. I do have some myself that they actually balance out your energy. They take you to different wavelengths and all that kind of thing. But traditionally, meditation has been for calming your energy and bringing you into alignment. And I do that in the morning, and I do it before I go to bed at night. But there are times for me, like when I'm working on my own content at home, or when I'm working with a client, I want that really powerful, connected to the joy of life energy. And for me, that shows up as putting on some really cool music like that and dancing and getting into your body. So I've experienced for me that it's just really, where are you at the time? If you want to feel like calm and centered, I think you go for that. The oming, like Katrina's talking about, or the, balance your chakras.
That's about playing. But you got to play with it.
I'll jump in there. I think that I agree with Kalyani that it does have to do with what's happening at the moment. Sometimes you don't have a record player around and you can't put on nice music. And this is something that happened to me yesterday. I was taking my son up from camp. I was just waiting there for him, and then he was coming toward me, and we got into the car, and I could just tell from his energy that he was upset about something. And so what actually ended up happening was that a kid was mean to him, in camp that day, and my son Lucas, sometimes he doesn't, those kinds of things are not really easy for him to deal with in the moment, so he, I pick him up and then he comes and he takes it out on me, of course, right, because I'm his mom. And so he was just like, really like nasty, and like, okay, well, what do I need to do? It was not about laughing and playing and having a good time right in that moment. It was like, what can I do and try and calm him down? And he was like yelling and screaming. And at one point, I felt like, okay, what I need to do now is not feed into this angry energy that he had. So I just said, Lucas, I need some space now. I just have to take some space. And he got a little bit quiet. And then all the way home, he was just like yelling and screaming. And finally we got home and we got into the house. And at one point he actually really went crazy. I mean, he just had to get it out of his system. Like, he was just so angry, and I think he felt frustrated because he didn't know how to handle the situation with the kid. And so I just got really quiet, and I let him just wail and get it out of his system, and then it was done, and then he was fine. But it was like, for me, the practice was keeping my energy in check enough not to get triggered by him and start arguing with him and getting reactive to him because he's, like being mean to me, and it was a real discipline at that moment, how, like, keep my energy centered enough so that I can respond appropriately, so I can parent him in the right way. It wasn't about fun and games. It was about being still, listening with my ears, with my heart, with my body, and knowing what to do. And it changed, it changed in the moment.
That's an amazing story, Gail. Thanks for sharing that with us, because both as parents, as co-workers, as wives, sorry, Andy, as husbands, as boyfriends, as girlfriends, as people who are engaging in connection, how often do we listen to the energy of the other person in this case, it was your son. But if I'm having an issue with my husband, and he is a petulant 11-year-old, oftentimes, not so much, and do I just jump in there and go, ah! Or do I say, you know, you could have been having a bad day, babe. Let's see what's going on, and I'm hearing your energy, and let's see if we can have a rational discussion. That would carry in our businesses, in our coaching, in our life, to really tap into, listen to our whole body like you described as the person we're trying to communicate with. Any other thoughts on how best to feel that from the other person? I mean, obviously, with your child, it's easy to feel because he's going cuckoo. But if you're in a business situation, the man or woman you're talking to is not always showing his emotions or their emotions so clearly. We have to feel that subtle and listen to that subtle energy from the other person. Any suggestions on that, all of you energy lovers?
Can I interject something if you hear me? I think it's
Please.
a great idea to take an energy check. Like, check in with your energy and see where it is. Are you, you know, when you're in your head, you know it. When you're in your heart, you know it. So doing an energy check and finding where on this continuum your energy is makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I'd love to add in something, Marilyn, in answer to what you're asking, Tracy. I think in situations like that, Tracy, for me, the first thing I do is check in with my energy and see where is my energy. Because tendency to want to think we can help or fix somebody right away, and it serves greater if we check in with our own energy and see, are we even in a very awesome neutral space to even serve that other person, or is what the conversation or exchange that's going to start taking place is going to then make you reactive, which then is not going to serve anybody. So it's more important that you know where you are in your energy, and if you're actually in a space to receive all that they may have to be sharing at that time, so that you can actually be of service, or like I tell my kids, be a different kind of sounding board, be a different perspective that they may not have seen at the moment.
I'd like to say something. What I hear, let's see if I'm unmuted. What I hear Marilyn and Kaylani and Gail all kind of saying is feel into how open is my heart. When the heart is speaking and when the heart is listening, it's usually expressing, or we might be asking, how can I truly be helpful right now? How can I be of service now? And when you're asking that question and you're willing to get into the not knowing place where the ego, frame of reference doesn't know ahead of time, having an agenda of a way to be that's going to, again, fix the situation, but instead, how can I be helpful, and then listen. Sometimes that comes in the form of, a mental question that then goes into surrender to the heart for the answer, or to the whole body, then to respond in the most authentic way. And I'm led to ask Andy, because he talks so much about authentic expression, how he links that authentic expression with, again, listening to be helpful.
Wow, that's a lot to think about. How often, I guess this is where my head's going with that, how often do we come to a situation, a conversation, the episode Gail described with her child, how often do we come to a situation with our own agenda and our own heart space? And, maybe Gail had an afternoon planned of ice cream and Monopoly, and now she picks up her son and he's in a totally different energy space. And so, as the wonderful mother she is, she takes that in and reacts to that and changes her heart space and her intention to be of service at the moment. So relating that to our works, how often do we come to our work situation in an adult environment and say, you know, you're just a poo-poo head, and you know, I am going to just be diligent in my making you think my way because I am superior because you're a poo-poo head, when maybe this person we're trying to deal with has had the same bad day that Gail's son had, and we don't take into account where their heart space is. What do you think?
I think that's so true, Tracy, and I think that the bottom line, again, for me, it always comes down to managing my own energy so that I will know how to respond in the moment. And sometimes I fail miserably. I mean, I told you a good story yesterday, but there are plenty when I just like went crazy on my son, you know, so it's not like I've got it all down. But, you know, sometimes like a situation with an adult at work, sometimes what might be needed in the moment is to just say, is to just walk away, so to speak, is just to know in your own heart, well, you know what, we have to finish this conversation tomorrow, or maybe I'll shoot him an email later. It's when you know, when you have your own energy in check, you'll know what to do, whether that's walk away, whether that's offer the person a hand, whether that's yell at that person, whether it's bop them in the head. It all comes from here, managing your own energy so you know what to do in the moment. Not always easy, but in an intention that I, you know, that I hold for myself in my life.
Fantastic. I don't know if any of y'all are watching the commenting out there, but a couple of shout outs to Nevada and Dory. I'm not going to pronounce your last name right, so I'm not going to. Hi, Dory. My mom's name is Doris. We call her Dory, too. Nevada asks, does anyone find starting their day with affirmations to shift energy or the tone for a good day? And I know we talked about music, but do we start the day off with affirmations to set that energy? And anybody want to touch on that for a few minutes?
Sure, I will.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the answer for Nevada is I personally do affirmations every day. They may not necessarily look like the traditional sense of an affirmation. I do have like affirmation cards from Louise Hay that I love. But for me, it's affirmations have, like anything else, have become more of an embodiment of just a being space. So let me see if I can explain that. So it's not for me like necessarily picking up an affirmation card and reading it, because that is something that somebody else has created, and my body may not tap into that energy. My head can read and my eyes can read the words, but it doesn't mean that energetically it's connecting for me. So what affirmations look like in the morning is that before I go into meditation and when I come out of meditation, and I do listen to a lot of affirmative vocal meditations. So they're meditations that are already done by myself and other people that are actually affirmative talking the whole time with music. So if I tend to sometimes, you know, doze off in my meditation, I'm still hearing affirmative speaking. So that's what affirmations look like to me, is that I think of
I think Kalani just froze with what she thinks of. So
things in my own life, think more. Am I there? Am I in?
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up. So I think we get the point
Yes.
of taking the affirmation from more than words to full body energy. But a fantastic point. And Dory let me know that she pronounced her name Stately. So hi, Dory Stately. Welcome to the conversation. And I'm going to pop another one up from Nevada, because this is what we were talking about. I always find it helpful in many situations to ask the person, the child, the spouse, etc., do you want me to help you or just listen? People can clearly check in with what they need or want in that moment. And I do that oftentimes in my business. I ask, if somebody's having an issue, I always say, how do you want to be coached right now? Do you want to be coached from a business standpoint or a loving light standpoint? Do you need a hug or do you need the next step? And I never even thought of that as an energy situation until Nevada just put that out there. So what do you think about asking?
Yeah, I think that's always a good idea. It's always a good idea to ask what's going through their mindset, so you can understand them and where they're coming from. I think going back to what you were talking about earlier in terms of feeling other people's emotions, like towards you or energy towards you, I find accepting that they have those feelings and giving them the time to express them, and for me that allows me to listen intently on what they want, and then take the action from there forward.
Very nice. This has been a fantastic conversation, and we are about 10, 12 minutes away from close, so perhaps we can go through the panel, and I don't remember Marilyn's order, so I'm going to go in the order of my film strip and see if we can say goodbye, closing thoughts, and a call to action in dealing with your energy and someone else's energy in the conversation of listening and also being heard. So first in my comment line is Heidi. What do you say for call to action and closing remark?
For me, the call to action for everybody is really physically listen to your voice, not only with your ears, but feel the vibrations in your body. Feel them until the feet, and get really in your own energy field. And it's really, you can feel it. You can feel it. When you put your hand here or on the back, you can feel it. And then feel it all the time. And this makes you grounded. Try to do it for a while, and it will make you happy to feel yourself in this way.
Very good. Andy, you're next in my film strip, sir.
Okay, excellent. Just like what I said just a moment ago, was give people their space and their energy and their time to listen, so you can truly listen to themselves, to them and their energy as well, and that's where I believe we'll create better communications with one another.
Very nice. How about you, Elaine? You're next on my strip.
Let me see it. Am I unmuted? Yes, I am unmuted. My words of wisdom are just get curious. Children are innately curious. When we're curious and start our day with curiosity, checking in with ourselves, what's my energy? If it feels tight or constricted, then you might ask, how can I shift it? If you can't think of anything, take a deep breath in, make a long exhale out, warm up your giggle, and open your day to joy and the more purposeful expression of, throughout the day, how can I be helpful?
Very nice. I just open your day to giggle. That is fantastic. Gail, we're up to you in my film strip. How do you want to close us out and send us off with good listening skills today?
Thanks, Tracy. I would say that my call to action would be for each person to acknowledge how important it is to listen to your own self, your own inner voice, your heart and your mind, your whole body, your whole being, and to realize that the only way you can really listen to anybody else is to first be able to listen to yourself and to make that a priority in your life and to set an intention, excuse me, to making that a priority.
Very good. The priority of intention. Wonderful. Kalani, how do you want to close this off? Hopefully we can hear you. Okay, I see her mouth moving, but I don't hear anything. So, Katrina, let's go to you, and maybe we can go back to Kalani in a minute.
Okay. For me, I would say it's really important to honor where you're at in the process, because it's not only necessarily listening to someone else, but listening to yourself, and you may not necessarily be in the best place to receive or share. So one of the quick tips that to make sure, sort of just get a sense of where you're at, or to make sure you're really sort of grounded in your own body, is to sometimes just stamp your feet. Get that energy like real grounded, and then kind of listen and figure out, okay, maybe this isn't the best time for us to have this conversation, or maybe it's not the best time for me to be really having this type of discussion. So taking it back to yourself and honoring where you're at and being okay with that.
That is an amazing point. What happens when we're the child and somebody's trying to have a conversation with us? I find myself hands on hips, stomping my feet quite often, and boy, that doesn't work.
It doesn't help you feel more grounded sometimes. I just need that to like shake off some extra stuff. But yeah, you can stomp your feet in frustration too. That sometimes works and gets it out. There's lots of ways.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to have to, next time I put my hands on my hips and stomp my feet, I'm going to have to do it with an intention of connection, rather an intention of the petulant child, look at me, I'm right or not, which is often my intention when I'm in that energy of do it my way, which never works. So I think Marilyn is trying to come in, but Kalani, do we have some voice from you now so we can say goodbye to you with your call to action? No.
She's muted, so.
Wow, she is muted. I don't know how she got muted because she couldn't figure out how to mute at the beginning. So I think my call to action for the day, since we maybe can't hear from Marilyn, she might pop back in as I'm talking. What did I learn today? To sit down or stand up, but to really do a body check when I'm listening, to really do a heart check, a chakra check, to feel my energy when I'm listening. And I know I don't do that often enough. I have a point, I have a passion, and you're going to hear it sometimes is my intention. So to really turn that around and look within and hear with my whole heart and communicate with my whole heart. That and dance around to happy to set the tone. So Marilyn, can you hear us now? Okay. I have no idea. Let's do a little peek behind the curtain of Oz HOA training. Heidi, you're in Ronnie's master class. Is there any way to close this room without Marilyn?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm back.
Oh, she's here. She's here.
I'm back. I'm back. And I wasn't supposed to speak very much, but I do have a quote in ending. Can I do it?
Yes, please. We have plenty of time.
All right. Wisdom is the reward for a lifetime of listening when you'd have preferred to talk. And that has been me this whole time. So you all did fabulously, and I've been listening, but I have not been able to talk because every time I open my mouth, I get shut off. So I've just been melting on the inside, listening and watching, listening everything. Tracy, you did remarkable, and everybody else. I'm going to shut up because I know I do. So I can end it whenever we're ready.
And you're reverberating. It sounds like you've got more than one room open. So let's tell everybody in the comment stream We've got a lot of people that I've never met. Dory, Nevada, Mark. Sheila, you've been fantastic. Keeping that going. And with that, we will all say goodbye until next Thursday. And we will see you next week. So go ahead and close us off, Marilyn. Can you hit the stop behind the scenes? Can you hit the stop broadcast button? Does anybody know where we off air? Okay, so until Marilyn hits the stop broadcast button and we don't have any dead air, Dory tells us if you don't choose it, you wouldn't be mad anymore. Isn't that fantastic? And